Morning, guys. We're on Colossians 2, verse 16. And just a reminder that all our sin was paid for on the cross, but also the legal demands of the law that we read about last time. God has fulfilled all the ordinances and the ceremonies and ceremonial law from the Old Testament. And it then says in verse 16 of Colossians 2, "Therefore, let no one pass judgment on you in questions of food and drink, or with regard to the festival, or a new moon, or a Sabbath." So no one must judge you according to these things. People can come and say you should be doing this or that, and they can put you back under bondage, back under the legal demands of the law. But Christ has fulfilled the law, and so we are free in Christ. Some of these things he mentions are typical Old Testament festivals and feasts, and the Sabbaths in the King James is plural. It's the same word used for the Sabbath day as well, often in the New Testament. So we know it's definitely the Sabbath day that's been fulfilled in Jesus, as well as all these other things. There were food laws, and so people will not eat unclean foods, and we know that's been done away with. Drink, people will say you can't have any alcohol, and they'll put all sorts of legal demands on you, and thereby, in one sense, saying the cross wasn't sufficient to deal with all that. And so the new moons, the Sabbath, the festivals, all the different feasts, everything was pointing to Christ. Everything was a sign saying, this is Jesus has come to fulfill everything. You've been clean. You don't have to eat something clean. He has made you clean. The Sabbath, regarding rest, Christ is the Sabbath rest. And every one of those festivals point to Jesus in some way or another. And so the word used here, if I carry on reading in verse 16, says, "Therefore, let no one pass judgment on those things." And it goes on to say, "These are a shadow of the things to come." So when you think of a shadow, if you think of a tree, a shadow is just an image of the tree on the ground. It's not the real thing. You can't do anything with a shadow. The tree, you can make furniture, you can make things, you can burn it in the fire for wood, and that's the real thing. But the shadow is actually just something that looks like it. And so if you follow the trunk, it shows you to the base of the real thing. And so we've got to be careful that we don't end up worshipping the shadow and not the real thing, who is Jesus. So it says, "These are the shadow of the things to come, but the substance," or in the King James says reality, some versions say the body, the actual substance, the reality is actually Jesus himself. So all those things point to Jesus. And then it goes on to say, "Let no one disqualify you in the worship of angels," etc., etc. I think we'll do that next time. But just a reminder that everything must point to Jesus. And so everything is fulfilled in him. And so in him we have the reality. In him we have salvation. And he has taken those things. And they are no longer... when we look at the Old Testament, we always look at it in the sense of how it points and shows us more of Christ. Amen.